bring in economist Steve Nwachukwu for more on this story. Hello, Steve. Thanks for being on the news tonight.
My pleasure.
Great. I mean, it's the first in 32 years.
22. Oh, okay, 32, yeah.
Right.
Right.
So it's the first in 32 years.
Yes.
And they've cited reasons such as operational costs, fluctuations in exchange rates, and all of that. It sounds very familiar. Just recently we had the same excuses or arguments from the telecom sector. But let me ask you, your reaction, and do you think it's justifiable, as well as the concerns raised in that introduction that you had? What do you think will be the inflationary impacts from this hike?
Well, I think you can't take away from the fact that once you have an addiction of taxes or levies in form of tariff, definitely it will come down on the average consumers, and definitely it will exacerbate the current living conditions of Nigerians. One will say yes, it's justifiable to have an increase given the fact that in the last 33 years or 32 years that we've had, in fact in the last 2 years, it's quite justifiable that you had an increase in the cost of operations, cost of fuel, cost of oil, even salary-wise, and the rest have all gone up, and definitely the authority, that is Nigerian Port Authority, needed more resources to be able to carry out their business. But the question is, it seems like most of these very policies and government decisions are somehow insensitive to the plight of Nigerians. The timing is wrong in the sense that we had too many of such risings or such hike. This will definitely exacerbate the current economic conditions. Yes, of course, it's not a direct tax on Nigerians, or perhaps it's an indirect tax in the sense that when those importers will definitely ask for those goods and services, and this very 15% will be poured down on the average consumer. So it will trickle down to consumers, and at this point, I think government needs to be coming with some of incentive policies that we perhaps counterbalance most of these very policies they've come up with. What we need now is not such a hike anymore. We need some policies that will incentivize the system than tax Nigerians more.
Talking about the burdens put on Nigerians, directly or indirectly, could there have been alternative strategies to achieve some of the same goals that the MPA is talking about? Maybe a PPP concession, infrastructure funding to close these gaps versus an increase in the port charges?
Well, the truth is, yes, of course, you can have other alternate measures that you can. You can even come from the point of reducing your operational costs, in the sense that most of the things you do, you think perhaps you needed to waive them and reduce some of those engagements that will actually increase such costs. That would be quite good, but it's inevitable in the sense that yes, basically things have gone up. Cost of fuel, cost of every other operational items have gone up. What we rather will look at from inwards, or maybe have a pushback. You know, Port Authority belongs to government, so government can say, for now, shave this. We can fund you, we can raise additional fund, or we can lower whatever demand or threshold of returns that you give to government. Government can say, for now, because this is going to affect Nigerians, affect businesses, if you are meant to return 30% of your operational cost or operational profit to government, can you now return 15%? Can you now return 20% instead of 30%? These are measures, but otherwise, well, things has gone up, so it can be justified. Yes, there is every reason to actually raise these numbers, but like I said, the timing is wrong.
Okay, great, because I'm glad you said that again. That's the second time you're saying it in this conversation, because I want to take you up on it. On one hand, you agree that it is justifiable because 32 years is a long time. Everything has changed. And on the other hand, you say the timing is wrong. So let me ask you, when is the right time? When could it have been the right time? 32 years after.
I think policies of government should have the face of the people. It should be people-centric than money-centric. Yes, government can say, I don't care, justifiable 33 years ago, we've not increased this rate and all that. But the essence of government is for the security and welfare of Nigerians. Welfare of Nigerians is the living conditions. Have in mind that when these very costs or this increase or tariff is implemented, is going to raise the same items that we buy in those shapes. It's going to raise costs of doing business. It's also going to raise costs of living or costs of production, because it's all about input costs. So what it simply means that government should have the face of the people, knowing that if you do this, those guys or those operators in the port and the rest of them may not actually have anything. Rather the consumers, they will plug back whatever back to consumers. So that's why government should be mindful and have that people-centric policy.
So the Port Authority is saying that, and they are promising that the revenues made will be reinvested in the port's facility infrastructure, expansion, and operations. So I want to ask you, because you make a valid point, but then it does seem like the government is there to intervene. But where exactly are they to intervene? Are they to intervene to upgrade the port so that the port does not increase the tariffs? Or are they to intervene at the level of some sort of intervention subsidy between the operators and the final consumers that we get the pushback? Where should the government come in?
You know, I said earlier that what we should be expecting from government now is policies that can counterbalance most of their policies that have come. We've had fuel subsidy removal, we've had increase in electricity tariff, we also had flotation. We have seen the Naira to where it is today, and all those policy has a pushback on the people. Now, like I said earlier, it's like an advice to the federal government. Why don't you shave this policy? Ask them to halt this. Rather, you can ask this agency, whatever is your remittance to the federal government percentage, push these billions of naira to, renovate whatever you want to renovate, or upgrade whatever, or maintain whatever. So it's an advice to federal government. You have a target for such institution because it's a revenue generating agency. That MPA is a revenue generating agency. So you can say to them, okay, yes, we expected more money from you. That very percentage of what you remit to federal government, I think is about 35% or 40%, and operational cost is around 60%. So can you lower it down and give us 25%? Or can you give us 10% and use that 5 or 10% that I've accrued to redeploy in this port maintenance, upgrade, and what have you? So I think that's the best way. Like I said, we need a counterbalancing policies that will reduce than to exacerbate the current economic condition.
You've spoken about all the other tariff increases that we've seen in recent times. Nigerians are saying, look, okay, you're increasing tariffs. You said you haven't increased tariffs in so many years, but they want to see commensurate improvement when it comes to service delivery. MPA is saying that this tariff increase is also essential for funding some critical projects that they are doing. The port community system, the national single window, which is expected to streamline port operations and reduce bureaucratic bottlenecks. Now you have stakeholders like Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry calling for more transparency, more stakeholder engagement. The MPA, what more can they do to basically just communicate the benefits of this to the public, to understand better why this is very important, why it's significant right now? What sort of benefits can they communicate to the Nigerians and say, look, this is why we're doing this?
Well, I think what they just said, that communique or the report or statements released by the Nigerian Port Authority is quite self-explanatory, upgrading, maintenance, and rest of them. So, but the question is efficiency and prudency. What have you done? How much have you actually used? What is the cost effect, or what are these very budget line item, or perhaps these renovations overbloated? We have the automation of the Nigerian port, and I'm sure part of these very resources they are looking for is for the automation of the Nigerian port. So the question is the transparency, like the Lagos Chamber of Commerce called for. We need to see some level of transparency, and we need to see those naira work for us. Not actually that you just need this money to do the rituals that you've been doing the last 10, 15 years, and we have not seen full automation of the Nigerian port. So we need to see some more level of improvement. Just like you asked, how much is the efficiency found in the port authority, how much is the clearance process done, and how much, what do you call it, ease of doing business found in the Nigerian port. So these are what Nigerians needed. Yes, you can't justify, yes, some level of improvement have been witnessed in our port services, time it takes to clear some of these goods, but does not still justify why Nigerians have to bear more brunt of this very increase. So it's not justifiable.
Okay, in 20 seconds, if you can, there's also the fear that Nigeria may be losing business to neighboring countries. Not like that is not already happening. But with this 15%, there are fears that more businesses will rather go to other ports to dock than Nigeria. Do you also believe in that?
Of course, when you raise costs, businesses will start looking for alternative. Who can give me the same service at a cheaper rate? And we have a couple of ports within our neighborhood here who perhaps has better services, has better equipment, and have all the techs that can satisfy the customer. So I think we also stand that risk of losing most of these businesses. So government should be mindful of that. Beyond the cost implication on Nigerians, government should also be mindful of the hostile nature of most of these policies to businesses. We keep talking about ease of doing business. Raising tariffs and costs also exacerbate the pain. So we have to make it ease. Yes, it's justifiable. Over 33 years ago, things have changed. We also need to see some level of change in efficiency. We'll need to see some change in also the cost of those very operations. Yeah. Are they over-bloated? So these are the inward reviews that these very agencies need to do than to push every bills to Nigeria.
Steve Nwachukwu, economist, thank you so much for your insights tonight as MPA plans 15% tariff hike. Thank you so much.